for joining us here at The Research Her, the show working to improve the health disparities for women of color, one topic at a time. And I am Alicia. I'm here learning and growing with you as we research our way to wellness. What is up? Today we will be in conversation with one of the winners of the Black Women in Graduate School Therapy Fund. The fund was made to financially support Black women who are currently in graduate school with therapy and mental health resources. And Research Her LLC was able to get over $3,000 in cash donations, probably from you. If you made a donation, thank you so much for your contribution. All of the proceeds went to this effort of supporting Black women in graduate school. If you are interested in learning more about the fund, a link is included in the show notes with the Therapy Fund report. Camille Mosley is the winner that we will be talking to today. She is currently a second-year Ph.D. student at the University of Notre Dame in the Biological Sciences Department. Her graduate research focuses on fishery ecology and management. She graduated from Emory University in 2019 with a Bachelor of Environmental Science. While in undergrad, she participated in research at Georgia Institute of Technology studying freshwater ecology. I am so excited for you all to learn more about Camille and her journey. Now let's get into this conversation with Camille Mosley. Thank you for being on the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Alicia. I'm excited to be here and talk with you.
I want to start off with you just telling me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently a second-year PhD student at the University of Notre Dame. My research focuses on recreational fisheries dynamics. So basically, I'm interested at how humans interact with the environment through fishing and what does that do for fish ecology and fish population dynamics.
Mm-hmm. What got you into that research? Do you like fishing? I kind of know the answer, but...
I love fishing. I grew up southern Mississippi. My grandma lives on the Gulf Coast, so going outside and fishing was like a regular occurrence and things that me and my brother did with my dad all the time. When I learned, when I got a little bit older and into college, that I could get paid to like fish and like do research and learn more about it, I was like, yes, this is for me. I really love like the fieldwork component, so I get to fish for science, which is not something you hear about every day, but I really do love that.
So once you have the fish, do you take them back to the lab? Like, what do you do?
I mean, I don't know. I like to call myself a fish doctor. I joke with that with my PI all the time. So it's a mixture of things. So right now I'm doing an experiment where I'm manipulating like the habitat of a lake and seeing how that changes fish movement and also how that changes catch rates. Not only do we catch the fish, we tag them, so each has their own identifier. A select group of fish have gotten acoustic tags, and those tags send off signals every so many like minutes or seconds so that I can track their movement within the lake. And then we also take fish diet, so I know what they're eating. And like if fish happen to die, we freeze them and take them to the lab, and we can do otolith analysis, which basically you take their ear bone and you can figure out how old the fish is. And there's a relationship between size and age of fish, so we can kind of see, okay, these fish that are this age are this size. So whenever we catch those individuals, we can kind of know what the age, class, and size structure dynamics are.
I'm only familiar with fishing in a certain context, which is you catch them, you eat them. When you're fishing, are you using a safer, less harmful, or less invasive type of hook to catch the fish? Like, how is it that you're able to catch them, throw them back in the water, and like not really feel bad about that process?
So luckily, most of the fish that I research are like sport fish. So they're already kind of in these catch and release fisheries. Bass are pretty hardy. When you hook them, it's not too like hard to take them off. And we also like push down the barbs on the hooks so that it's easy to take out. So they're not being like caught very hard. And sometimes randomly, like you'll just get them at a weird spot on their fin. So it's not even like hard to release. The traditional angling of what you're thinking about is like line and reel, but we also have some fish nets where we set those out so that we can look at the smaller fish individuals, whether that be the juvenile bass or a smaller forage fish like bluegill, which is a sunfish.
So when you say you send it out, are you literally just taking a net and like throwing it in the water and seeing what jumps into the net?
Well, no, we have these nets called fyke nets, and you set them in basically, and they'll stay in there overnight. They have like an anchor and a weight. You put them right by the shore, and you just wait. The fish swim in there. You go and get them the next day. You pull them up, and then you find all the fish and let them go. Sometimes you get fun stuff like snapping turtles, which I got way too many this summer.
So for instance, you did the acoustic, what did you call it?
They're acoustic tags,
Yeah. So
fast tracking.
is this something that like you have to physically be there, or how are you able to track using acoustics where the fish are? Do you have like a analyzer that sits by the lake, or is there something in the water? How does that look?
Yeah, so it's like a passive detection system. We have receivers at different locations in the lake. Each of those has like 100-meter radius. As those fish swim by those, because we know the locations of those, we can tell where they are in the lake.
How do you see yourself growing in your research in this field?
I'm hoping that this experiment goes well and I can learn more about how different gradients of habitat affect fish movement, because as humans have increased our population and developed different environments such as lake shorelines, we've decreased the amount of habitat. And so as we move towards climate change and different things, trying to understand how all these compounding effects to the fish, how we can maintain the fisheries and prevent collapse. Because I want my, future kids and grandkids to be able to fish as well. And also it's used as subsistence fishing. Like some people use fish for protein, like especially like indigenous culture, fish is part of the lifestyle. I want to find ways to get more people of color out there fishing and knowing that they can research fish. I'm hoping as I continue my research and get more skills and mentor more, I can be set up to have my own lab and get more POC in there.
I didn't think about it till I met you that people do research where they're catching fish and I don't know what I thought you did till now, but how did you end up in this field?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to participate in an REU during my junior year at Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta, Georgia. And I had the best mentors. I had a professor from Georgia Tech and also a biologist from Fish and Wildlife. These two women totally changed my opinion and view on science and research. I did a project where I got to do field work, and so I was doing freshwater ecology, trying to detect a endangered crayfish species from urban streams. At first I was like, whoa, I didn't even know all this life existed in Atlanta. Just off the side of the road, there's a stream with all these fish and aquatic insects. I was like, wow, there's so much here that I just didn't know about. They also encouraged me, we need more women in here. And then one of my mentors, also a Black woman, she was like, it stinks to be the only one, but the only way we get more is educating people and letting them know about these opportunities. And from that, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I definitely want to learn more about the outdoors and be engaged with nature.
Cool. So were you fishing before that or nah?
I would fish with my family, but I didn't know that I could study fish, because also I went to Emory University in Atlanta, pretty landlocked. Mm-hmm. So most of the environmental science courses I were taking were pretty terrestrial. So I wasn't even thinking about that for grad school until I had started that undergrad project.
How has this experience and the work that you've done impacted your social life and your family life?
So it's been a journey to do work-life balance. I went straight from undergrad to Ph.D. I'm fine with that choice. I definitely know that if I were to stop, I probably wouldn't go back to school, but it's always time for me. I have moments where I'm probably just doing more personal stuff, whether that be hanging out with friends or family trips, and then I'm super research focused, go, 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 go. I'm trying to balance that more now, because when I'm doing one or the other, there's always needs that aren't getting met, and it's stressful.
We talked yesterday and you mentioned that you were done with your courses, right?
Yes.
So how was that one, you're in your PhD program, and I'm assuming originally all of your classes were in person, right?
Yeah.
And then once COVID hit, did they switch to online?
So yeah, when COVID happened, we switched. Well, Notre Dame continued to be in person. They decided to change the schedule to start students to come in earlier so that we could be done by Thanksgiving. Luckily, because I had taken in my first year just a lot of classes every semester and in person, I only needed one more. And they also changed the credit requirements to less in this last semester. So I really probably didn't even need to take this one class, but I took community ecology. It's a good class. It was discussion based too, so it wasn't too bad. But it was virtual because of the professor's decision, which I was very happy about because I could do field work and still take classes. This summer, I piloted my experiment, but because of COVID, we started later than we wanted to. And the acoustic tags, they last for like 90 days or so, and they cost like 400 pieces a pop. So I had to stay there until those tags ran out. So I was in Wisconsin. That's where I do my field research until middle of October. So I'm just now coming back and being in South Bend and like working from home.
So did you see a difference in your productivity as in like an online learner versus when your classes were in person?
It was still hard. I thought, I'm taking one class that's discussion based, like I'll be okay, but it was still a good bit of work. I feel for the undergrads who had to be in person because I don't think I could do it. This semester, just because of, I don't want to say the world falling apart.
But isn't it?
Because of, well, it was just like all the things were happening. COVID happened, then obviously George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and I'm co-president of the Black Grad Student Association. So I'm over here like, I want to make sure we're all good just as people. The university wants to put me on every advisory board that they can. Which, they do need diverse perspectives. And they reached out, which I was thankful for, but it was just like a really hard balancing act of that, my one class, and then me doing my own independent project, fully led by me. A lot of new things and a lot of extra pressures alongside just managing my usual mental health. It was a struggle.
Did you find that your grade that you ended up getting in the class was not what you would have expected if you were taking a class in person, or everything went well with that?
It went well. And I think it's also due to the instructors. I can say that I was definitely blessed because they were like, let us know, like even with my fieldwork, so like, let us know if you need help or if you can't complete a reading or like however we can help you, let us know. So because of that grace, it wasn't too hard to get through. Because I had some days where I did not read because I was struggling. Whenever you're going through different mental health issues, even just getting up, taking a shower can be a lot.
It can. It really can. So it sounds like you found your professors to be a little bit more accessible than usual.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not sure if it's COVID related or if it's
that professor in particular.
I definitely got some different people reaching out to me because of increase in social awareness about racism, for better or for worse.
Yeah, so you speak on the university reaching out to you to be on, all these committees. And what are some examples or some ways in which you have been working with your university and working with the community over the past few months?
Been like engaging with undergrads and graduate students is with this group that we've just created called Graduate Students Against Racial Injustice at Notre Dame. We're still going through different names, but we're going to get SAO approved that to be like a real university group. And we've done things like make resources available for students on campus and start disseminating flyers and other information so that people really know what anti-racism is, because people don't understand that it's a journey, not a destination. We're all continually learning to do better and pushing for implicit bias training for faculty and other instructors. I'm in a TA of color learning group and community, and we've been talking about different pedagogy and approaches where we can incorporate our lived experiences and diverse experiences of our students to try to decolonize academia, because it's some of the coursework, you'd be surprised, especially for like some of the history classes. It's not nuanced at all. It's been good though, because I can definitely say that as I've talked with like the president and the provost and things, we are definitely moving in the right direction. I'm sad that it took something like so catastrophic as the recent events for that to happen, but here we are.
So, how have you been taking care of yourself?
I've been doing that recently by going to therapy because I thought I was taking care of myself for a long time, but I was not. I was looking more at the results instead of like how I was actually feeling. So I was like, oh, well, I completed these assignments or I got this grade. So like, I'm doing well. But no, like I was not getting enough sleep, super stressed out and anxious, more than usual. And like also my nutrition wasn't the best. So I've been trying to set goals and add some structure to my life and be more consistent about even the basic self-care stuff, just like eating regularly.
How long have you been going to therapy?
I started therapy this summer. It took a second to get there. I have a close friend who's getting ready to finish up grad school, and she told me, she was like, you're going to need therapy. You're not going to be able to get through grad school without therapy. And I was like, what are you talking about? I got through undergrad. And like, I knew in undergrad, I definitely had some depressive episodes because like, you know, I did not want to get out of bed like for days and different things. But I was like, it's fine. I made it. I still did my research. I had work. I was still great. It was fine. I graduated. There's no way that I can't just figure this out on my own. But once the summer happened and all the different things of 2020, I was like, no, no. And so, and also like going to Wellness Wednesday with Sten Noir, I was hearing other people's experiences and I was like, oh, like it's normal. It's okay. Like people get help for their mental health, just like you need to go to the dentist and get your teeth cleaned. It's just a self-care thing and that I need to do. And so I went to therapy for Black girls because I don't want to have to explain and unpack microaggressions in a whole session. I want to really be understood. So I found a therapist that I could do teleappointments with since I was still doing field work at the time and also it's COVID. And it was probably the best decision I made this year. Easy.
Yeah. How much do you pay to go to therapy? Typically in a month.
Probably about $400. It's expensive.
When I was in grad school, my stipend after taxes was somewhere around like $1,900. So that's how much I made when I was in grad school at Purdue. That's a nice percentage of my check at Just Therapy because I too was paying about that much. I personally was paying like $640 a month.
Ooh.
Yeah. 33% of my check was going to therapy.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's expensive.
Just to kind of give everyone an idea of with being a PhD student wanting to get therapy, we all know that that might be the higher end of therapy. My question is, are there cheaper options? And if so, why didn't you choose those?
Yeah, I was going back and forth about what I wanted to do. It was something where it was like in network, like going to like the university, like counseling services. One, they're super like overwhelmed and like packed with the amount of people who need to be seen because that includes undergrads and graduate students. And they don't have anybody on staff who looks like me, to put it plainly. I was like, I think that I need a Black therapist. I'm going to make the choice to do that because I'd rather pay a little bit extra or pay a lot extra to get all my needs met instead of going the cheaper route.
Mm-hmm. What were your needs in a therapist?
I needed someone who would be able to like understand my perspectives and emotions, especially when it came to cultural issues, because a lot of my anxiety was around some of these different issues. I've been learning how to drive recently. I have my permit right now. And it's really stressful for me because like I'm always thinking like, okay, wait, where do I have my wallet? Insurance stuff. How am I driving? Every time I drive, my legs like shake. I'm okay to do it, but it's stressful because of police brutality. That's a real threat. Also, family dynamics. So there's cultural things that when I talk about family issues that I don't have to explain to my therapist about, because I come from a Black Southern family. I love them. But because of that, there's a lot of like religious things sometimes. And so just the value system and understanding where I'm coming from, it's nice to have that. And also just the experience of being an educated like Black woman, like you get this misogynoir everywhere. It's the little things, but they do add up and really impact our mental health. And so having someone who can empathize, understand, and give me tools that I can help manage my mood and emotions is really great.
Mm-hmm. So beyond your therapist, did you have a community there at Notre Dame that you could depend on?
So, like, through being in, like, the Black Graduate Student Association, I've made, like, friends. And so we have, like, our groups where we do, like, different, like, you know, happy hour things or, like, game nights together. And I have a couple best friends that, like, I've met from being here. I also still talk to a lot of my friends from undergraduate. Also, obviously, STEM Noir Wellness Wednesday. That is my usual fellowship every month. And I've been trying to also, you know, engage with more science communicators, like via Twitter and different things like that, because, you know, nobody really understands this experience like other people in graduate programs.
So please tell me the difference between the two places where you were. So Notre Dame is one place, and then you did your field work in another place, but both were still in the Midwest.
Yes, so Notre Dame has an environmental research center that we call UNDERC. That property is in northern Wisconsin, and that's where I do my field research. So that's where I have my whole egg experiment. And then the actual university is in South Bend, Indiana.
Got it. What are some tips that you would say to someone navigating their PhD, specifically maybe, you know, first, second year, and a Black woman who is in this white space just trying to, you know, figure things out?
Yes. So all the things. I've also been reading Dr. Grayson's book. So, like, get that book, first off, Hooded. Number 2, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of times, the way that we structure, like, classes and science and different things, we feel like we should know everything. Nobody knows everything. And that's the point. That's why we're here. We're trying to learn things. Whether that be from your advisor, other grad students, and make sure you take care of you, be it the mental health, your body, like nutrition, exercise, the small stuff, building a community, find your people. And that might not be within your university, and that's okay. I've also made friends, like, you know, just in the community. I think that's been helpful. Sometimes we can kind of get in a bubble when you're stuck at the university all the time and just talking to those people. When I say ask for help, that also means if you need a mental health day or time off, or you need to go see your family, like most advisors, if you're being productive and getting your work done, are going to be pretty flexible with those type of requests. Also, if something doesn't feel right, it might not be right, and say something. I was lucky enough to where I had some interactions when in choosing my advisor. I was very intentful about how I did it, because we all know that there's different people in departments that don't have necessarily the most healthy lab environment or culture, and you don't want to be a part of that. And if you get into that, you don't have to stay there. It's not a have to.
She is so amazing. If you want to connect with her, the links to her social media pages are attached. One thing that I enjoy about following Camille on social media is how much she embraces her joys. She shares her love for cooking and fishing openly, and it encourages me to exist beyond the lab out loud. If you want to learn more about the podcast, we are at The Research Her on the socials and also at theresearchher.com. We are so excited to share with you next week's episode, where we follow up with Dr. Dominique Barnes-Walker, whose research is related to the strong Black woman archetype. We originally conversed with Dr. Damo on episode 15. She had recently successfully defended her dissertation proposal. So in this next conversation, we will learn about the findings of her dissertation. And you gonna want to learn about this, sis. So until next time,